Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions Daily. BST 4 p.m. today is, I don't know, Wednesday, guys, yeah? I'm losing track of the week. It's Wednesday, yeah? But in Australia, is it Thursday yet?
We think so.
Yes.
You think so? You're all a bit delirious. All right, so today I've got Chris with me, Jamie, and of course, Michael. Starting with Chris, quick intro, please, on yourself before we get started.
Yeah, super quick. Started selling online in 2001. Figured out how Google works. Got into SEO for quite a few years, but always had an e-commerce business on the side. Jumped into Amazon about 2014, 15. Been selling on Amazon ever since in quite a few of the marketplaces. That's me.
Excellent. And next to you, Jamie.
Been selling on Amazon US coming up nearly 3 years. Last year got close to 7 figures. We'll crush that this year, hopefully. All looking good. Myself, my wife, and a business partner started a brand straight onto the US platform. And, yeah, just looking at expanding that, talking about a little exit happening soon, which, fingers crossed, happens, and see how we go.
Excellent. That's great. And what about yourself, Michael?
Yeah, I co-founded a startup probably about 5 or 6 years ago here in Australia. Got early traction with our startup. We attracted some of the biggest tech advisors in the world onto our board, ex-Facebook executives, etc.
Nice.
Then we took our product over to the US, and cut a long story short, we attracted some investment from the biggest companies in the US, and then got to work with some big celebrities, etc. That type of thing. E-commerce wise, been in it for about 3.5 years. Was drop shipping out of China. We had over 700 SKUs on Google Shopping.
Yeah.
Turned the attention over to Amazon, and then got a pretty successful brand, selling well. So Amazon's my focus in terms of e-commerce.
Excellent. Right, so just go through some of the comments first. Owen says, "Hey Danny, sounds like we're in for a bonza show." Florin, morning Danny. What's this number 64? It's hard to go back to normal routine without working until 1 a.m. each night to watch this. Thanks for tuning in, Florin. Well, Friday was the 60th show. So anyone that can count, what are we up now? About 65?
Yeah.
About 65, yeah.
Unreal, mate.
Well, we're getting there. We're going to get to 100. Do you know
amazing.
what? I'll know within the next 2 weeks whether we'll be submitted for the Guinness World Records for the most consecutive days for doing Facebook Lives. But I'll update everyone anyway. Cyb says, good day, dudes. Elton says, "Hey guys, nice to see you again." Jimmy says, "Good day from the land down under." Can't speak yet. Elton says, "Nice to see you again, Pat Taylor." You see what happens as soon as you make one mistake, it's a consistent roll. "Hi, hope you're doing well." Ray says, "Jamie and Mitchell, Aussie Endgame Network legends." Angie says, "Good morning, gentlemen." Rosie says, "Good morning, gentlemen." And Ben says, "Good morning, guys." In the feed, we've got Chen, Ricky, Douglas, Ben, Rossi, Lee, Angie, Ray, Ben Valence is joined as well. Okay, so let's get into it. So we're going to talk about culturally what goes on over in Australia, in and around the Amazon community. Because I think this is really important, one thing. And two, selling on Amazon.au, which Chris, you've got experience in. If you want to listen to back episodes, go to sellersessions.com and do a search for the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we've discussed Australia before, but I want to give a different slant on this today because it's important. As I mentioned off call, is that Amazon will launch these new marketplaces, but when do you jump in there? Do you become the innovator? Do you become the pioneer with a target on your back and make all the mistakes? Or do you wait for the sweet spot, wait for that right time and to jump on the platform when people are making money? So that's going to be part of the discussion today as well. The other part of the discussion, which I think is important when you're selling on Amazon as well, is the culture around it. These guys run the Endgame Network, and the engagement in that group is second to none, which is supposed over in Australia, right? And it reminds me of getting into Amazon in 2015. So it's very easy to go down that nonchalant route of we've seen it with Facebook groups. They start off really well. There's lots of engagement, and then the trolls come in because someone asked a simple question, and it's like, oh yeah, we've heard this all before, and people get arsy, and then suddenly these groups kind of blow up, and the vibe gets taken away. What I love about Australia, it reminds me of 2015, that vibrancy, everyone helping each other, and I think that's a key component. So, guys, do you want to just quickly give us a background on what's been going on within the group and tell me the state of play in terms of not on the platform, but Amazon sellers based in Australia at this time?
Yeah, no worries, Danny. Thanks for having us on. Look, I think you hit it on the head. The engagement's incredible with the group. It's just that I guess that there's so many people interested in doing this as a side hustle, doing this as a business. People are taking it pretty seriously down under now, and it's been around since 2015, maybe even longer. But there's just been this push for that open source learning and bridging the gap between, I guess, you guys over like what we feel over in our little island, over in the States, and bridging the gap with that connection. You know, we're now bringing live into people's living rooms, people like Danny McMillan, you know, people. I
don't know who he is. I've heard he's all right, though.
Yeah, no, he went all right. He was all right.
He was all right, and then he just went all Hollywood. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so all these people that we've heard of and feel like are an arm length away, you know, we're bringing them live into the living room. We're having high engagement in the group. We're doing things like, you know, pop-up masterminds, how I discussed with you, where we're actually taking care of the audience and their needs. Pop-up masterminds, first 5 people jump into a call, high engagement, and I guess our fortnightly shows are Zoom calls where we invite everyone in the group, bring these people, Tim Jordan, Stephen Black, these type of people, into the living rooms of everyone, and we're getting, you know, 400 to 600, 700 people jumping in live because there's that many people who are engaged and want to learn. That's the state of play in Australia at the moment.
Yeah, you mentioned me in the breadth of Americans. I'm obviously from the UK, right? But it's the same. It's the same thing. But what you're doing, when I started Seller Sessions, it was about introducing like the US into the UK. You know, so all of these great speakers and sellers and everything else, getting them on the platform, and then we've been developing. Me, Augustus, and a few others. We've been developing out Europe. We've been rolling out that infrastructure. When I said 5 years ago, we need to build the infrastructure here in the UK and the EU, people thought I was mad, but it's been built. We can see it. And now we're getting our own, like homegrown talent. We're getting more people having exits. You know, I've got a private mastermind group of 23 to 25 serious sellers in the UK. Took me, 4.5 years to handpick those guys because we're trying to build something. Like, you've got to have a vision for the future, and that's what I like about you guys as well. You're building something there. So what you're doing is you're bringing the guys from the US, give them a taste for it, and in 5 years' time, you'll have your own developed people, your speakers and your sellers and everything else, because they look for inspiration, and then the people go, okay, well, these great guys over here, they can do it. I think we can do it, but you start small and you start to build it, you know?
Yeah. And it's also, just like...
Sorry, Michael, go on.
No, you're all right.
Also, too, in terms of like, we're getting really high engagement, but it's not all just Amazon. Jamie and I reach out to our, extensive network and we help people with the entrepreneurial journey. So, we have special guests like, Facebook executives, Olympic gold medalists, world champions, because, them excelling in their area or sport, can have those clues to help people with their entrepreneurial journey. So we try and have that holistic approach, and it's not just Amazon, but we bring in these guests to get those gold nuggets.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's bring Chris, and I'll keep coming back round to you guys as well. Chris, let's bring you in, the state of play on the Australian platform. We know how long ago now? It's three and a bit years since went into beta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and a credit to Jamie and Michael as well for their group. Like, it is, you're right, Danny, it's an amazing group, and the engagement there is just off the charts. So, yeah, well done, lads. Really good job.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really positive vibe in there. And people, when they heard that you guys are coming on today's show, just went bonkers, didn't they, at your group? They were very excited. So they're all staying up late to watch us, which is fantastic. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get on to Amazon Australia. So, yeah, it's been about 3 years. Look, Amazon really hasn't moved much, Danny, since we last spoke, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, they're not really giving us a lot of data out of the platform in terms of how many users they've got, how many Prime members or anything like that. They're quite secretive. We do know that they've grown a little bit from the amount of money that they're reporting to the tax office here. So things are definitely improving. And they are still rolling out a lot of features within the platform. Even just today, I received a notification that they'd rolled out coupons, for example. So there's a lot of, it's nowhere near as mature as, say, the United States or indeed, throughout Europe in terms of the features that we get through Seller Central. But it's slowly getting there. And it's still really, really struggling when you look at some of the other marketplaces like eBay. We've got another one called Kogan. We have Catch, which is another big platform here. So really, as I said last time, during the good, the bad, and the ugly, it's a multi-channel or a multi-marketplace play if you decide as an e-commerce seller to come and set up in Australia. I don't think that you can just focus straight in on Amazon and expect to really kill it. A couple of last things I'd like to say about the platform is that if you are going to sell here in Australia, the riches are not in the niches.
It's going broad. It's like in Japan.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit broad. Yeah. But look, some of the bigger categories, like if you were to sell like a diffuser, for example, an oil diffuser, something like that, you'll make some money doing that for sure. But if you're looking for the gold little nugget niches like you do on Amazon.com, look somewhere else. Yeah. It's a lot more.
I think that goes for most countries. I think when the fatal mistake that most people sell, they sell on the US platform, right? And it's like long tail and niches, plenty of them, right? But then they try and then move their products that do well. Like I always give an example, Taco Tuesdays in the States. There is no search volume in Germany or the UK. So your taco holders are going to be useless. Does that make sense? So you have to look at these broader markets like Japan. You need to sell a garlic press. The products that you laugh at, that you say to stay away from, are the products you should sell, or something that is regional and related to that territory. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, absolutely.
So what you were saying was very interesting there. Let's talk about this pronged attack in terms of if you're going to sell in Amazon Australia, don't just think about selling on the Amazon platform. You want to talk multi-channel, right? So you need to work out, get a 3PL, set up with them, negotiate your deals. Then look at eBay and then look, is it Kogan or what did you call it?
Yeah, Kogan. It's Kogan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big, pretty big.
So from your perspective, and for free of you guys, if you've got someone who's US based and wants to look at the Australian market before it gets mature, walk me through some steps of what they should do from setting the account up and setting up this 3PL, etc.
That's a tricky one. Yeah. You boys want to try and handle that because I don't want to get into the minefield.
I don't like to put people on the spot on this.
No, that's all right. Look, we brought some product to Australia and we've set up an account. We've sold on Australia earlier last year. Yeah. As far as obviously your ROI and when you want to be leaving your cash, it wasn't great, obviously, but we wanted to have a footprint here and just maybe be ready to pounce when things changed. We were talking today, the three of us, because we had a Zoom today just to prepare for the show because that's what we wanted to do for you, mate. Look, we were saying ourselves when we go to shop ourselves, we'll jump on eBay and we're Amazon sellers. It's just because it's the culture here. Like we've always jumped on eBay. We know there's more selection. Some of the things that we look at, office products, electronics, you go into Amazon AU and there's just crickets, you know what I mean? And also what Chris was saying today was interesting is that because of the state of play in the US, even some of the categories that are available for us now, it's like you're looking at, because you're buying from the US market, we're looking at, not many options at all. But on the flip side, there's some people in our community who are doing well on Amazon AU. It's not taking long to rank. PPC's cheap. Like there's some benefits, like some of the categories that you spoke about. If you can find those niches where you can do well over here, it's not going to cost you a ton of money to rank and, be right up there on page one, whatever you want to call it, and dominate a little bit of a niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you are an international seller and you have great reviews on your international products, marketplaces like in the United States or Europe, those reviews are coming straight across into Australia. So you actually do have quite an advantage if you were to, say, ship 20 or 30 units in as a test. And you can do that through DHL or FedEx or whoever, straight into an Amazon warehouse here. The other issue too, Danny, just sort of more recently, and I was speaking with Brittany Renker and a few other people last week. Brittany's actually head of, which is part of Amazon Australia, and sort of off the record, it seemed to me that with the COVID-19 issues that were happening in the United States, Amazon has here in Australia this thing called Amazon Global. And what that means is that it fleshed out its catalog here in Amazon Australia because it didn't have enough selection or enough sellers, really, third-party sellers in the platform. To flesh out the catalog, basically they used a lot of the the products and the selections from other marketplaces and offered them as available for sale here with international shipping. With the COVID restrictions around FBA shipping and international shipping, they kind of shut that down, and that really kind of constricted the amount of choice that we had on Amazon Australia here, and I think it set them back a little bit as well. So yeah, it's been really fascinating to see the impact.
Let's talk infrastructure. I mean, Sybe says here, look, Australia is massive. It's logistical infrastructure set up to make e-commerce work. How are you going to do it, basically? And he's got a point there. I mean, Western Australia, Perth, etc., is the biggest isolated state in the world. I mean, it takes 5 or 6 hours or so, doesn't it, in terms of go from Perth to Sydney by plane? Is that right? And it's there's a time difference as well.
Yeah, there's a time difference. Yeah, it's about 3.5 hours, I think.
Yeah,
right.
By flight. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That comment there, Australia is massive. Yeah, that's fair enough in terms of land size, but in terms of population, obviously I've done a lot of business in the US. It's just insane over there how big it is. To put it in perspective, we've got Sydney, which has got a population of about 5 million people. Well, America has 80 Sydneys.
Yeah.
So the growth in that over there and just the huge size of the market, when you compare it to Australia, it's just tiny compared to the bigger markets. So, just something to think about in terms of size.
What about research tool? Again, Sybe's there. What tools such as HTML, JS in EU and US, what works for Australia?
We're talking about this today. Probably a good one for you, Chris.
I'll try my best, but yeah, look, all the biggies don't work at the moment. So, Helium 10, Jungle Scout, all those guys. Look, there are a couple of tools that have, I guess, established themselves in a way to work with Amazon Australia, but a lot of them, I've tried most of them, and honestly, I just don't trust them. I just don't think there's enough data points for them to be able to make an accurate decision, particularly around sales volume and how many units a seller, the competing seller is selling of something. So the tools that sort of spring to mind, probably Zonguru, I believe, and I haven't actually used it in Australia, does sort of work here as a sales analysis tool, a competitor analysis tool like X-Ray. And then the other big one, I suppose, would be eGrow.io. There may be a handful of others. I can't think of them. I think you've got to be really careful.
I don't have a Australian Amazon account, but I'm assuming Brand Analytics is operational there. I know it's a bit beyond the times in terms of like they've just introduced coupons, but can't you extrapolate some of the data there to get an idea of what's doing?
I was going to say, yes, of course you can. And you can sort of see the conversion rate, obviously, from other sellers when you're doing, a search on keywords or a reverse agent search through there. And of course, the other thing that you can do too is you can run exact match PPC campaigns on various keywords and then try and correlate those keywords against, what's happening in terms of a ranking position through brand analytics, popularity and stuff. Obviously, that's going to fluctuate a bit, but it's really, really the only way to get keyword volume at the moment, as far as I can tell, is through PPC.
Or keyword frequency rather than search volume.
It's a bit, it's tricky, mate. You've got to be careful down here. Yeah.
Cool. Gary says, how does eBay compare to Amazon in Australia? I suppose he's probably mean percentage of market share. Yeah.
I haven't checked for ages, but I'd still say that eBay is miles and miles in front. What do you reckon, boys?
It's been around for a lot longer than Amazon Australia. It's been around for years. So,
It has. And didn't they step up their game when Amazon came to town? They really started advertising like crazy and trying to.
Even Catch. I spoke to the former owner of Catch, Gabby Levovic, and he sold out to Wesfarmers. Catch have now over 1,500 third-party sellers. So
That's right.
even Catch have started expanding and going wide with third-party sellers, where they used to just have maybe, I think it was 30 or 40,000 products of their own. Now they've got 1,200 vetted sellers. They're a big player here too. Now they've sold to Wesfarmers over in Australia. They're one of the biggest retail conglomerates, if you want to speak, with supermarkets and hardware stores and so forth. Now they've got chains of Target and various different retail outlets now that are into the Catch system as well. So even they're a big player.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what would you say proportion of the guys in your group very well engaged? Is most of the guys there selling on the US platform, and then they're going, we'll have a dabble in the AU market?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I would say that's spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. And how many? What percentage would you say are large sellers on the platform?
In our group, I would say probably 50-60% just dipping their feet in the waters. Maybe 30%. Intermediate, and probably, I don't know, whatever the percentage I've left myself, 10-20%, 10-20% pretty significant sellers.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's about an average ratio, isn't it?
Yeah.
Adam says, would you say Catch is bigger than Amazon in Oz?
Yep, definitely.
Yep.
What else we got here? Okay, Angela says, it took nearly 1 year for us to sell 30 of each of our best-selling ASINs in Australia. Amazon in 2019 had enough change there to make it worth trying again. In your opinions, and is Amazon Australia shipping to New Zealand?
I don't know the answer to that one, to be honest. We've got a heap of New Zealanders in our group. I'd have to ask someone, I think.
Yeah, I actually don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't think they do.
Nothing like a bit of preparation, wouldn't it? So we prepped before the show, and no one's got the answer. Sorry, Angela.
No, that's all right. There's probably a couple of New Zealanders watching that might be able to help us. But I think at this point in time, there's still only the 2 fulfillment centres, isn't there, Chris? Is there Sydney and Melbourne, or is there more than that? No, just Sydney and Melbourne?
Yeah, Sydney, Melbourne at the moment. And I think they announced that they're opening one over in Perth, which is over in the west. Just to the logistics question that was asked earlier, I can't remember who asked it. I think it was Si. That's I mean, Amazon, that's how they're approaching things. They're kind of slowly building out their fulfillment network to really cover and get products as quickly as possible. They're certainly still investing a lot of money here, a lot of money in advertising. They're spending a lot of money in particular in trying to get more Prime members on board. And then obviously they're offering at the moment, free seller fees for 3 months. So you don't have to pay your $150 over 3 months or $50 a month, whatever. But yeah, it's you just got to be a bit careful, guys. I keep saying.
Yeah.
Rosie says Amazon is not part of Australian psychology yet, as it will take a few more years, but eBay is huge. And another local is Gumtree.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
eBay owns Gumtree.
That's
right. Gumtree.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. That makes sense. Buying up everything around them to keep Amazon at bay makes sense. Matt Parker says, how advanced is the distribution system in Oz? Is it easy to maintain delivery rates? Oz is the big place. I'm just wondering how this process works.
Oh, look, we've sent stuff to Perth. It's a 4-day experience, for people to wait. It's nothing for someone that lives in WA to wait 4 days for something. It's the place is that big. So, the infrastructure's there. The trucks are on the road, but that's one thing. But time frames, we're pretty patient, I guess, over here. I would imagine. Like, we're not used to that next day delivery Prime service. Even me in Melbourne in the big smoke, if you want to call it, and Michael in Sydney, and if I had to wait 2-3 days for something, even a week, it's normal.
Yep.
Yeah,
shrug a shoulder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So good question. I was going to say, exactly. Cool. Look, it just depends. If there is same day shipping for some retailers or e-commerce sellers where they hire an Uber driver or something to get a product out to you because they're pretty passionate about delivery times and whatnot. But for the most part, we're pretty patient like here. We don't jump up. I mean, I sell internationally through my e-commerce web store and I ship out of of Shenzhen, almost drop shipping my products out globally. Boy, the Americans get very, very annoyed when their product takes, about 4 days or longer to arrive. So, whereas here in Australia, we're so laid back, well, generally. All of us, everybody's laid back.
Delivery time of 3 weeks, you just,
whatever.
Yeah. When I was drop shipping, when we were drop shipping, that was the big issue. We were drop shipping into America from China, and the Americans were going nuts when, after a week they're saying, "Where's my product?" Because over there, they're so ingrained with Amazon next day delivery.
Yeah.
It was very, very interesting. They're not as patient as us Aussies.
No,
well, that's what Matt says. He says, very interesting approach. Cheers, guys. Basically, you're more chilled than us in the UK. Jimmy has said they're in the middle of building a massive building in southwest Sydney, which is going to be just for their data. And Amazon loves a bit of data. So tell us about the data on the platform. You don't see much of it. Is that right?
Yeah.
No.
No.
What's the exact question there that you're asking us?
We've spent the last 3 years studying the hell out of US and the marketplace over there and building up to 7 figures over there. Brought a few pallets over here, sell 3-4 units a month compared to 1,200 of one of our products. It's just no-brainer at the moment. You know what I mean?
It's night and day, isn't it, in terms of that?
Yeah.
Cybe says, have you seen a big shift in consumers buying online during COVID, i.e., elder generation hated shopping online and suddenly felt the pinch? What's the buying situation over there and the shift in patterns?
Yeah, I would say that we've seen an increase. Even myself, not necessarily. I'm an Amazon seller, online e-commerce seller. I still like to get out of the house and take the kids along to the shopping centres and do my shopping when I can. I haven't been the biggest online seller myself, but I found myself in COVID doing some weird and wonderful things and buying some stuff up, thinking the world was going to end. So, I think that for me personally, even, in-laws or buying things for people or the elderly that may not have delved their feet in the water with buying online, that I've seen people that have started buying online that have never done it before. So that's in Australia for sure. I
think it's affected the whole globe. I think it's for e-commerce. COVID's just basically reinforced the consumer behaviour that we want, which is buy stuff online. So it's pretty exciting.
It's sped up the whole process. So if you're selling non-essential goods, maybe you are affected now. Your sales will be down. But when we get the bounce back, as I call it, when it pings back at some point, then you're going to benefit if you're still in the game. If you've got the cash flow there and stuff. I know, unfortunately, this has been tough times for some people and it may have put them out of business or having them to look, getting revenue elsewhere whilst we're in COVID. But I do believe is that everyone eventually will benefit. And that pattern of you can't buy it on Amazon at the moment. So people are looking at Shopify store or doing a Google search because Amazon is not stocking that stuff. So I think that's also helped spreading things around for non-essential goods as well.
Yeah. I even heard on the radio the other day an advertisement telling Australians to support online retailers and buy stuff online. And when I heard that, I thought, well, how good's that? We're in e-commerce and it's just reinforcing the consumer behaviour that we want. Yeah. It's pretty exciting.
But at the same time, our products are totally non-essential, totally non-essential in the beauty space.
Yeah.
And we're having Q4 numbers at the moment. I don't understand what's going on in the States. It's remarkable. When COVID hit, we dropped 80 to 90% of our sales, and now we're having record months. It's just unbelievable. I can't put my finger on it.
Gary's made a point. It should be seen. We should be talking about selling on eBay for Australia, right? I think what he means is that we're talking about selling on Amazon Australia, and we haven't sold it, have we? We're not saying roll up. But as I said before the call, it's just as important to talk about the stuff that doesn't work, so people do not waste their time. People can pick through what we've said here. There are niches or, there are areas that you may be able to do well with, but on the whole, if you want to tune out of the show now, Australian Amazon may be not for you just yet. Does that make sense in terms of selling on that platform? But it's important to know, as we said earlier on in the show, is, you know, things grow. Is you need to keep tabs on stuff and put your energies where it flows properly and where it's required. In 2 years' time, we might be talking about Amazon Australia again, people having a roaring trade on there, and also there's a nicer structure there in terms of selling on multi-channel. So I just want to let Gary know, he's a friend of mine anyway, and for people listening to the show, it's just as important to talk about stuff that's not going to work than it is, because that also helps people that are tuning in or come up with ideas of selling on the platform. Oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, right. So that all works. Or, oh, if that's the case, I'll sell on eBay, set up a 3PL. And then when Amazon grows, then we'll shift more onto that market as well.
Just want to say good day to Gary too. He was on our show on Monday, actually, Danny. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's a good guy. Steve Miles says eBay is well hooked up with Australia Post, and that partnership can deliver fairly quickly.
Yeah. And look, I think it's important to add that, you know, Amazon don't do things half-assed as well. Like they're not going to come out here and let that be the case forever. I don't think. I think they're we know the power of Amazon, and coming out here and seeing the opportunity that is online selling in Australia, and other people are having bigger footholds than them. I still don't think they come in and muck around. You know, whether it's another 2 or 3 years, we know the power behind. The beast that is. The beast that is.
And the thing is, Amazon, it's like everything, you know, they take a lot of shots at stuff, and they'll be the first to admit they'll measure, they'll fail, and they'll go at something else. Look at all the services that they generally offer, right? How many of them actually work? The SAM program, all of these programs that they run these initiatives, don't they? And then 6 months later, they're rolling out something else because, you know, the account manager's gone rushing into the bricks. You don't see them after a few months. They're taking your money and they're gone, right? And you're you're left holding the baby, and you're thinking, oh, okay, so I'm paying for this service over here, but getting nothing in return. But that's the thing. You've got to keep trying things. And like they had their ass handed to them in China as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
So, But then they'll go and work the Singapore market. From my understanding, speaking to Megla, they're pushing hard in Singapore. Yeah. So you have to retract, and then you go again, don't you?
I think everybody that's set up in China has had their ass handed to them.
Yeah,
I mean, just look at Google.
It's a tough market.
So
it's a tough market.
It is tough, yeah.
Gary says, I agree, Danny. Absolutely. Sometimes it's good to learn not what to do, just as important what to do. Keep up the gold. Cybe says, Aussies have a different culture to anywhere on the planet. They have drive-through bottle shops, for fuck's sake. Do you want to explain to non-Aussies what I know what a bottle shop is, but tell them what a drive-through bottle shop is.
Yeah, basically, if you can imagine McDonald's, but you drive through to get alcohol. Yeah, we're not German, but we have Oktoberfest. Let's just
like every day.
Every Saturday.
Ben says depends on your category choice. I know sellers selling electronics on Amazon AU and doing well. She will be crushed in the US. Good point.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think if you do get set up early, and you know, some of the early people that did take the risk, and you know, they're selling the oil diffusers and some of the electronics and stuff like that. They've got really well established, and they've entrenched themselves really nicely into Australia, and are doing really well. It's not all bad. It's just
So basically, what you're saying, Chris, if you've got 15,000 units of lightning cables sitting somewhere in a what's it called?
Bring them down.
A 3PL in LA or something. Send them in Australia. You might sell them over 15 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yelchin says, do you think it's better to link or keep separate accounts such as Australia, EU, US? Because I saw once on the internet, it's a place where it always tells the truth. If the Amazon suspends my account in Spain, then the US account will shut down too. Not entirely true. That's normally done by market. And the suspension, it depends. If it's an ASIN or something like that, that's different. If it's fraud on the account, then they'll track by cards and they'll shut everything down, which is connected to you. But let's just say you've got, you found, you know, your product, too many negative reviews, feedback, prang the algorithm, etc. they'll either shut the ASIN or they might block the account and then you have to appeal. But that doesn't normally mean across all markets. Normally it's done by region. I've got clients who's had problems with delivery times in Italy and resolved it, but didn't have anywhere else in the EU shutdown. But yeah, it's always good to be vigilant. Here's one, Ijel, she was on the show with you the other day. What about Australian taxes on Amazon sales? Do you want to explain that, Chris?
Boy, I've got to try and remember. So there's GST, which is goods and services tax. I'm not sure whether Amazon's collected the GST like they do sales tax from many states in the United States at the moment.
Yeah.
Certainly, when I sell in the UK or throughout Europe, I'm responsible for the VAT that's required to be remitted back to the governments there. So that would probably be it. And obviously then there's a sort of an income tax issue. If you pass certain thresholds, and I honestly can't remember off the top of my head what they are. I'm not an accountant. I'm not providing taxation advice for anybody other than to say, do some due diligence and ask a professional here in Australia. There's a few around. So obviously there's, well, not obviously, but there's, oh my God, Arnold over at, help me out here, lads, in Sydney.
Dolman
Bateman, thank you. Yes,
Dolman
sorry,
Bateman.
it's getting late and it's early in the morning here. I'm starting to fade. And then there's a couple other people over in Perth as well. So I think it was Wise Accounting in Perth. It's worth having a chat to him over there. He was interviewed actually on Kiri Masters' excellent podcast, the E-commerce Brain Trust, last year, I think. So yeah, they're sort of the main taxes. There's sort of like a goods and services tax, which is the equivalent of VAT or sales tax. And then, if you're selling over a certain amount of thresholds, then you need to register, to pay, profits or income tax.
Yeah. So. Yelchin's come back and says, could you explain a little about selling under the same ASIN? In this case, I'm eligible to use different pictures in different countries such as France, US, and Germany. Okay.
Yeah.
Someone needs to update me on this because I haven't made any adjustments recently on any listings for this case. But it used to be you have your US account, right? You have images on there. And so MX and CA, them images would share across. In the EU, the same images is on that same database that goes across Europe. So if you have text annotation on your image in the UK, but then you push it to Germany, the German listing is going to be in English. But if you change that to a German translation, it'll be German everywhere. That is what I'm still understanding the case. I spoke to somebody the other day that brought on the same ASIN, but brought it from the US across Europe, which meant they had the same database shared from the ASIN rather than two separate marketplaces or two Amazon accounts, right? Now, to throw a little spinball in there as well, is that there's, with the Pan-EU program last year, when the account managers were trying to attract people into the Pan-EU, what they were saying, and they won't publicly admit this, is that for 20 ASINs, if you want to translate the text on your images, they will use internal software and make those changes across those marketplaces. But you have to really push hard. Now, if you've got a Pan-EU manager now, and you haven't had that conversations, the chances of that happening with the 20 ASINs are very limited. The best time to take advantage of that is at the very beginning, when they're doing the big push to get you onto Pan-EU. That's when you ask that question. And that's what people have done before. And I've known, because people fed back to me, that in some cases, like, they've managed to email them half a dozen times, and then finally they've admitted they do have this software, even though they denied it in the earlier emails. And in most cases, they just get ignored. So it depends on where you are in the sales cycle. So hopefully, Yelchin, that will help give you some of the answers.
Awesome.
Very comprehensive answer there, Danny. Yeah. Nice work.
But I don't know. I'm still unsure about now, if you've got an ASIN in the US, then bring it across the marketplaces, whether they're split. Some of people said yes, some have said no. So basically, I'm not giving you the full answer. I'm giving you my interpretation of what I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, look, it does, the images and everything comes across when you port the ASIN across into Amazon Australia and Europe usually. Yeah. And then it just seems like it's almost like a parent-child. If it's coming from the United States, you can then sort of edit locally to suit,
So where's the puck going with Australia, guys? For you, in terms of growing the culture out there, starting with you, Jamie, where can you see it going over the next 5 years? And then Chris will talk about the platform after.
For us personally, I think that we just want to have everything ready to go. I think that's a pretty soft answer too. But being hands on the ground and looking at the situation, we feel like we're ready to pounce if we want to. But at the moment, where we want to tie up our cash is obviously where the money's being made. We have accounts ready. We've tested the waters. In our niche, we're happy being in the US. As far as where the puck's going in Australia, if it does go bang that way, we're poised to strike. That's where we're at. But accounts open, whatever you want to call it, we're ready to go. Other brands and other things we start in the future, we'll have a look at the AU market for sure and see those little niches that are working. But still, I think from a business standpoint and putting food on the table, I guess if you want to call it, we have to go where the money is and follow the nose.
The US mainly.
Yeah.
And so your group and the growth of Amazon sellers, like serious sellers like that are in your group, how big can you see that? I mean, you've been in the game a while. I mean, what kind of year-on-year growth? Are you seeing it doubling year-on-year? More and more sellers are coming into the...
Yeah, I think it's a tough gig. We all know that, you know.
Yeah. I love you say that because most people try and make it sound like it's a piece of piss, but yeah.
No. Well, we're not trying to sell hopium or anything here. You know what I mean?
Hopium. I like that.
Yeah. So basically, the people who navigate through the tick box, which is the start, it's just ticking boxes. You know, open an account, start sourcing products, talk to suppliers, start a brand, do a trademark, whatever you want to do, launch a few products. They're the tick box stuff. Then you got to get into the PPC. You get into navigating through that. That's when the rubber meets the road, if you want to call it that. And whoever has got I don't want to sound harsh here, but whoever's got the nous and the guts to break through that transition of 1 or 2 years in the game and seriously take that business to what it's potentially able to do, they're the ones who are, you know, excelling and learning to, because if you would understand, it takes 2-3 years, maybe 2 years to build an awesome team around you within your business just to be able to get to that level. You know, try these people, even people starting and trying to learn PPC on their own. You guys you're 100% in the right category to say, or the right people to say, you know, people that are just starting on Amazon can't just throw 10 grand PPC ad spend at a business. So all this navigational stuff to get to a point where, okay, I can outsource my PPC now. I can focus on building a brand. That's a 1 to 2 year journey. In our group, people are showing that they're going to get through that period because of the culture we're building in this group and supporting each other. Yeah. I guess that's mine and Michael's passion. We want to get as many people through the noise into that next growth phase, or you know, where they can get through the bullshit, if you want to call it that.
Well, there is a churn rate, because when we used to put on events back in 2015 in London, we'd put them on and you see like there's a high turnover. Like from 1 month from another, you know, people thinking about their first, it'd be like 50-60% churn rate, because the idea stands there, and then they'll freeze either because they're not ready to be entrepreneur or willing to spend the money, or they find that they go into that process of paralysis, finding a product, and they drop out. And so what you're left with is maybe a core 10-15% that actually really go on and do something good, you know, with that knowledge, you know.
I think even just, if I could finish, just like when you get to this point 2 years in, you've got the skill set to do it.
Yeah.
And that's when people give up. That's not the time to give up. That's the time to break to the next stage, because you've built the team, you've learnt the mistakes. It's not the time to put the towel away. You know what I mean? For us, especially the skills we have now, this is definitely not the time to pull the pin.
Without doubt. Michael, do you want to add? Sorry. Yeah,
I think Aussies in general, just with our culture, that we're a culture of willing to have a crack. You know, people are willing to have a go. And to your point, Jamie, in terms of getting to that period where people either quit or carry on, with the group, we want to get them to that break point with support, bringing in the best guests from all over the world to be able to help them fight through that difficult period and then see sunlight on the other side. So that's what we want to do within the group. But generally, Aussies just are willing to have a crack. So, it's a good sort of...
Definitely think between Aussies and UK, there's a very similar mindset. I mean, you've got all the sunshine, but we're inherent piss takers. We don't take ourselves seriously, but like you said, we all have a go, don't we? Chris, talk to me about the platform. Where can you see the puck going over the next few years?
Oh, I just haven't seen Amazon grow fast enough. Are we talking about Amazon or are we talking about...
Amazon, Amazon EU, EU, sorry, Australia. AU, sorry.
Yeah. Look, I think they'll get there. I think maybe just opening up another warehouse in Perth is going to be helpful. They're holding some more conferences here in Australia this year, and I'm hoping to be part of that in July. Look, I guess it's a bit of a wait and see. There's nothing's really significantly changed in my opinion since the last time that we spoke, Danny, which is probably about a year and a half ago. I think it was probably a year or so after they started opening up here. Probably just more generally about Australia. I think we've been very lucky with the COVID-19 issues. We could see what was coming. We saw the wave on the way. We sort of saw what was happening in Italy and stuff like that. So, and we're coming out of it very early as well compared to a lot of other countries. We did a lot of tracking. We did a lot of tracing. We did a lot of lockdowns. We stopped, we closed the borders pretty early. So I'm hoping that Australia bounces out of this quite quickly, and economically we really start to get our skates on again, because a couple of things have happened. We've got a government that has just basically helicoptered cash into the economy. I mean, there's all these different programs, and so they're really trying to help people get through this so that when we get to the end, which feels like we're sort of getting close to that, people have enough money to kind of just ramp the whole show back up. We can kind of get ramped up very quickly after this. So, because there's still money sloshing around in the economy. So, in terms of Amazon, though, not really sure. The jury's out for me.
Yeah. Well, as I said, it's good to know. I don't want to end on a sour point like someone sat here for 46 minutes to listen about how not to sell in Amazon Australia. But I think it's important because it's so easy to spend this money that you don't have, or where you could allocate for a product somewhere else. But we need to know what the trends are and what's coming around the corner. And we might have this conversation, as I said, in a year's time. We might be looking at a different landscape, and that's the time to dive in,
That's right.
Best way people can reach you. So plug the group, N Network, which is a Facebook group, which is excellent. I have it in the ticker down below where I thank you guys. Do you want to tell people a bit about the group?
Yeah, mate. Endgame Network. Look, I would probably say 90% Australasian, so Australian and New Zealand sellers. Just having that platform, that free open learning, open source. What's good's good, what's bad's bad. Let's be mature about it and break it down. Why did someone have a bad experience? Maybe someone had a great experience. So it's just open source learning. Everyone's got a voice. I think that's really important. There's no funneling. There's no anything like that. We say how it is. We spoke to Chris today. We've reached out to. We had a little bit of a debate happening in the group over Helium 10 and Zonguru. So me and Michael told the group we'll dig. So we got Brad Sutton. He did an awesome interview. We got Zonguru, John Tilley. He did an awesome interview, and we'll put them both in the group and let people decide. It's just liberty at its best. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Mm-hmm. So we're Doug. We'll launch that, and it'll be awesome.
Yeah, sounds good.
Really important as well. Sorry, Danny.
I was going to say, Jill said, I'm still going to give it a try. This woman does not give up. She's from Estonia. She's one of the most successful sellers in Estonia, female sellers. And, she's going to be speaking at Branded by Women next week. Now, the thing with her is she's gone for about 5 or 6 businesses. She is absolutely relentless. That's what I love about her. So she said, I'm still going to give it a try. Hopefully she can give us a case study and prove us all wrong, which I hope she can.
Yeah. Awesome.
Sorry, go on, Michael.
I was just going to say, in terms of our group, one thing that's important to Jamie and I is that we are very creative with how we engage, and we keep the people interested and engaged, and like Jamie mentioned before, the 5 in 5, the pop-up masterminds, they've been a real hit. We've got a couple of other things planned, but it's really important that we engage constantly with our group to nourish them and help them along their journey and help them break through.
If someone can get a quick win and then we help them through the noise, that's going to go a long way to their online selling career. You know what I mean? And thank you to Egla too. She was on our show Monday as well.
Yeah.
She said, "Give me 6 months." And
she's a total rock star. Yeah.
She'll nail it. She'll nail it.
Awesome.
Cool. Best way to reach you, Chris?
Yes. I also have a Facebook group. It's called The Australian Seller. It's quite small, and it's
a great group.
It's a fun little group, and it's a lot. It's more of a forum. I haven't been like super active in it, certainly as much as you two have, and I've sort of got the podcast. So anyway, the Australian Seller Facebook group, please join. I also have a podcast called the Australian Seller Podcast. So please,
where can they find that? You should go to his podcast with.
Yeah, you can find it obviously on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever else podcasts are hosted. And you can even Google it, actually. So, I've got a website. So you can get in touch with me directly at chris@christhomas.com.au.
Excellent.
Yeah, awesome.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I just want to give a rundown of what's coming up for the rest of the week. Tomorrow is our Off Amazon series, a deep dive into Pinterest. Friday, Steve Simonson is back with me as we do Awesomers versus Seller Sessions. Saturday, Women of Amazon, we're going to do an in-depth with Cara Sayer. And on Sunday, the 24th, Mindset Sunday, Leanne Hirschkorn back along with other guests. We're going to be talking life balance. Right. Okay. So I'll be back here again tomorrow, 4 p.m. BST. Stay home, stay safe, look after your family. Much love. Take care. See you all soon. Bye.
Peace.
See you later.